Hello. I think I'm on. It says it's telling my followers I've started a live video, so I'm not sure if it's started yet. I still don't get all this technology. There we go. Hello. How are you? Thank you guys so much for joining me. Today is a special live because I'm celebrating 2 years alcohol free. Hey Laurel, it's so good to see you here. It's a big celebration for me. It's a big deal. And I want to share with you a little bit of my journey. And if you're following me on Instagram, you saw that recently I just went to Croatia. My husband and I went for a trip. And it was a hiking, biking, kayaking trip. And a lot happened while we were there. And it taught me a lot about how much I've changed in the last 2 years. And I want to share that with you in case there's someone out there who is where I was 2 years ago and was thinking, I need to make a change, but I'm afraid. I was afraid, guys, 2 years ago. And I'm sure you can relate to this because I grew up drinking alcohol, like most people, starting socially. And then as I got older, it became like an adult thing. I thought it was sophisticated. And every event started to involve alcohol, and it's a real insidious thing. It creeps up, and I then tied it, as I talked about in on other podcasts and other lives. I tied some of my drinking to stress and trauma and sadness, and it started to set in a little bit more and a little bit more every year. So by the time I was in my 50s. And I had been thinking about it for a while, probably, since my mid-40s, like, I think you're drinking too much. And I just want to remind you, you wouldn't have known it. We have this stereotypical idea that the only people that need to take a break or quit alcohol are people who are really having a problem, who can't get their life together, who have lost their job, their relationships. That's not true. There's plenty of people like me, maybe like you, who are aware they've been drinking too much and it's become a big part of their life. And for me, I was a health and fitness person. I still am, but professionally. And so it really was out of alignment with my values. And just that out of alignment feeling is a bad feeling. And also it was increasing my anxiety and depression over the years. So flash forward to 2.5 years ago, I really started doing some serious research. I started Googling things like, do I have a problem with drinking? Am I an alcoholic? Doing these alcohol quizzes. Let me know if any of you have tried those. You can always find one online that says you're fine. So you can always find something to make you say, you know what, I don't need to make a change right now. Because making a change is scary. Getting out of your comfort zone is scary. And I knew I needed to change because my depression was getting worse and anxiety was creeping in, and it was just changing who I was. And I did get online a lot and do research that was clearly scientifically tying increased anxiety, increased depression, low energy. My health was going downhill. And again, I still am, healthy fitness person, right? My skin was changing. And part of me was like, that must just be, getting old. But it was alcohol. And so 2.5 years ago, I started really thinking about it, started doing research. And then on September 14th, I tried one more time to bargain with God and asked to be able to just moderate, and I came home that night smashed. And I was so disappointed with myself. That was it. That was just it. I couldn't do this anymore. And so the 15th, I decided to stop. And I had been looking into programs, and coaching really spoke to me. And so I joined This Naked Mind, The Path, but it didn't start till October 1st. So I had from September 15th to October 1st on my own. And I journaled and journaled and journaled my face off. And this is someone who wasn't a journaler. But I just realized how much I was using alcohol like liquid camouflage. If I ever write a book, that's what it's going to be called. Because I was camouflaging, hiding, even from myself, but to everybody else, the pain I was really in. And you know what? That's exhausting. When you're depressed, if you're a person who has depression, you know what I'm talking about. We're masters at hiding it. And that's exhausting, right? But throw alcohol on top of that. And the days after you've had too much to drink, it's very hard because you're so low already. Your neurotransmitters are zapped. You're exhausted. It's very hard to hide it. So I isolated a lot, and I could do that. And then I'd get into this cycle and I'd drink again. So I started going through coaching, which is amazing, by the way. And I realized quickly into it, like 10, 15 days, it wasn't about the alcohol. I didn't have any physical withdrawal. I didn't go through any DTs or anything like that. It's all up here. and I had to learn how to be with my emotions. I don't want to do that. That sucks. That hurts. But that is what helped me to realize how I was using alcohol to numb from emotions, because we're taught in this world, if you feel bad, if something hurts, if you don't like how things feel, numb it. Drink something, smoke something, scroll through something, numb out. Think about it tomorrow. You can only do that for so long. So here's an example of how I've changed so much. And I was really surprised because I can't believe it's been 2 years, first of all. It went fast. In the beginning, it felt slow, really slow, because I was doing a lot of work on myself, doing a lot of journaling and sitting with my feelings and trying to understand what that meant to be uncomfortable and try to break down when I did feel like a craving to drink. Why do I want that? What do I think it means? What do I think it's going to do for me? That is some work, I'm not going to lie. But man, I've learned so much about myself in the last 2 years. But talk about really putting it to the test. So we plan this trip to Croatia. It's for our 30th wedding anniversary. Yay, it's another celebration. Hi, Sibel. And it's actually almost our 31st now, because by the time we got around to the trip, it's almost our 31st. But we get on the airplane, lightning storms are happening, and that sets off a cascade of events that made it so when we got to Germany, we were so late, we did not make our connection, and our bags didn't make it either. And then we were 5 hours sitting in an airport. So what would Maureen of 2.5 years ago done? Well, first of all, my husband was sweet enough to surprise me with first class to fly there. I would have thought, well, if you're in first class, you got to drink, right? That's what makes it so classy, right? No. So that was number one. I realized, wow, have I changed? Because I could appreciate all the other cool things there were about first class, without getting drunk and hammered. Instead, I got to be comfortable and watch these fun movies and eat all the good food and experience this setup that I don't get to experience very often. So it was really a cool thing. So there was the first, thing that I realized, wow, have I changed? Number two, we get there, we don't have another connection for 5 hours. So we're sitting in the Munich airport in a beer garden. And what is everybody doing there that you see across airports all across the world? Drinking, no matter what time it is. It was, morning, I think. And those old neural pathways, they started to pop up like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going through this. You're tired, you're stressed, you're not going to make your connection. But I quickly, went seconds went through my process. What do you really think having a drink would do for you right now? Nothing. It would make the stress worse. It would make you tired. You wouldn't be able to deal with what's coming. So it was really, really easy. So again, how much I've changed in 2 years. So happy 2 years. And then we finally get on our next connection. They put us on a different plane, get to Split, Croatia, so much later than we were supposed to. It's now evening. We were supposed to be there in the morning. And our luggage we are the last people. The carousel's going around and around, and there's no luggage, and there's nobody. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is not good. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I had a little meltdown. I was like, oh my gosh, because we were going on this very sports specific trip. The next day at 6 a.m, we had to get up, meet people in the lobby, get on a ferry, go to an island and start biking. And all I have is what's in my carry-on, which, by the way, I've learned a whole new lesson about what to pack in your carry-on. I had nothing. I had nothing for biking, or sleeping or deodorant or, I was unprepared. So I had a mini meltdown, but it lasted for like a minute. And then it was like, okay, what do we do now, right? Maureen of 2.5 years ago, who would have been drinking that whole time, would have lost it. Absolutely lost it. Not been rational, been inconsolable. So it's such a difference. My central nervous system is so much calmer. You might want to ask my husband about that, but it is so much better. So we get to split, and now it's like 7 o'clock. We have 1 hour, maybe 2, to find something to wear. So we're running around in this beautiful old historic town. Don't get to take in the sights. I find a bike shop, and they have like 3 items. And they had this like professional Italian onesie, and he holds it up to me and he's like, we have this. And I'm like, I'll take it. I found a pair of Skechers, and that is what I had for the next 2 days to wear in Croatia. I got to bike the next day, and it was beautiful. I put out a video this morning. It was just incredible biking. And so, not to mention, Maureen of 2.5 years ago would have been hungover and feeling like crap, and probably wouldn't have anything to bike in because I wouldn't have been able to get my you-know-what together to figure it out. So while all this is happening, I am aware about how much I've changed. And it was by removing alcohol and doing the work on learning how to be with uncomfortable emotions and uncomfortable situations and challenging situations without a substance, without numbing. So even while all this is happening, I'm having this other tape in my head going, wow, this is really interesting. Like, you are handling this so much differently. So I want to share that with you as an encouragement, because so many people are like, what, I still have friends like, why, so you're going to get back to drinking, right? Like, this isn't going to be forever, is it? It doesn't have to be, and I don't want to scare you, those of you who are considering making a change. When I started out, I never thought I would make a 2-year mark. I didn't think I'd become a coach who helps other people reevaluate their relationship with alcohol. I just knew I needed a change. But with each successive day, week, month, I kept feeling the amazing positive benefits of removing alcohol, and kept learning more and more about myself. I couldn't get enough. I couldn't read enough. I couldn't write enough. I couldn't be with other people who were going through the same thing enough. There's some of you right here who are in my group with me, and I so appreciate you being here, because we know we were all just trying to figure it out, figure ourselves out. And it's the key was to remove alcohol from the equation. So, getting back to this trip, right? So we don't get our luggage till almost the 3rd day. I'm a little tired of wearing this Italian onesie and my Skechers, but it got me through. I even went swimming in it because I wanted to swim in the Adriatic, and that's all I had. So much more flexible. But we get to Dubrovnik, and you open the door, and there's our luggage. I was like, ah! And I shed another tear because I was so happy that it was there. So that night we go to the old town of Dubrovnik, and I'm like, man, my muscles are really hurting. I didn't think that bike ride was that hard. Flash forward to, I am deathly sick by that night, throwing up the whole 9 yards. And it turned out a number of us in our group caught a virus. So there's, obstacle number 2. Now, I wouldn't have been drinking at that point, because believe me, I couldn't have put anything in my system, but I would have handled it differently. I would have felt very sorry for myself, and this sucks, I lost my luggage, and now this. But instead it was like, okay, again, what are we going to do? And I give Backroads a lot of credit. They quickly got a transfer for those of us who couldn't do the bike ride that day. I was bummed about that. But man, they got it together, and we got a transfer to the next destination in Montenegro, and I was able to rest, and it was truly a 24-hour thing. And the next day I was out again hiking. So the difference in my ability to handle obstacles and stressful situations and see the good in things, that has been like such a gift in all of this. And I'm only 2 years, right? That's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, wow, I wonder what's going to happen in year 3. Like, who am I going to be then? And I just, my only regret is I didn't do this when I was younger, because I've got so much energy now. I've got so much I want to share with people. I've always been that way. I've been a trainer. I love to do research. And when I find something good, I want to share it with other people. I want other people to know. I've had some of my friends ask me, why are you doing this? Why are you doing coaching? Why are you, why not just stay over in your little corner and not drink and not say anything? Because I feel like I've found like the magic, like it's my superpower, as some of my coach friends say. Being alcohol free is like my superpower. And all these years, I didn't know it. I thought it was helping me. It was hurting me in so many ways. So again, this trip, the other thing was there were 2 men on the trip that were both hadn't drank in 20 and 18 years. And they, had a lot of insight, because they saw me the first day when we're going on our ferry to catch the bikes. I was journaling furiously. I did have that in my carry-on. And the one guy came over, and Mark, and he sat down and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I got to get my feelings out. I got to write it down because this was a bit stressful. And he totally got it, because, when you're on these kind of trips, people are drinking all the time, all around you, in the morning, in the afternoon, all the time. So I wanted to write out my feelings instead of holding them in. And that's something I've learned so much. That's a ritual for me that's very important. And a couple days into the trip, both gentlemen who had given up alcohol many years ago were like, we're really proud of you, the way you're handling this, And I was too. and it was so nice to have other people who understand, appreciate it. But my husband was really, he could see a difference in me. And John, said to me, he's like, you have really changed. And it's for the good. And so why am I sharing this with you now? Why am I making a big deal about this? Because if you're like me 2.5 years ago, and you're a person who's been waking up, after drinking too much again, and you're like, I got to change. I don't know what to do. And you're stuck in that cycle. I want to give you encouragement. I want to give you hope. And I want to say, if you want to make a change and investigate how to do that, that's what I do now. I coach other people who are trying to figure it out and don't know where to start. And especially, I get it if you're a person whose your anxiety has been ramping up, your depression seems to be getting worse, you're not handling things as well, and you're suspecting alcohol might be the problem or the issue or the element, that if you change that, you're wondering, could things be different? And I want to share with you, they can. Like, amazing. So then, we enjoyed the rest of the trip. It was an incredible time. Traveled back here. I'm still a little jet lagged, but I'm just looking back over the trip and looking back over the changes that have happened to me over these last 2 years. And people often ask me, like, well, what else have you noticed? So more calm, at peace, more focused with what I want to do with my life. Like, I was kind of wasting it before. You get hungover, you drink too much, you're hungover, you're just trying to get through your day. So you're not really experiencing that day, whether you're with your kids or your spouse or at your job. You're just getting through. And that's not how I want to live. So experiencing it now with, wow, I'm an early morning person now. I never used to be because I was always too busy recovering. And again, I want to remind you, I didn't drink every day. I was a binge drinker. I drank on the weekends. But it would take me like days to recover. And by the time I started to fully recover, the weekend was coming around again. So I was just stuck in that cycle. So to be out of that cycle, to not be thinking about drinking, and what do I mean by that? So it wasn't like I was always thinking, oh, I want to have a drink. No, but I would be thinking about how I drank too much, get really down on myself, beat myself up. And then I would think, well, I'm not going to drink. So I think about like all the things I could do to make up for it, and then as the weekend started to roll around, that fading effect bias happened, and I forget how bad I felt. And I think, well, I'll just have one, or I'll just have white, or I'll just have, a glass of water in between each drink. And, so there I'm thinking about drinking again. And inevitably, I would drink too much because I was a party girl. I was the life of the party. And that's the other thing I wanted to share with you. Like a lot of my friends, like, why are you not going to drink? I mean, you weren't that bad. Well, they didn't know, they didn't see the dark side of it, right? They just saw the party girl. So they might be like, whoa, Maureen likes to party a lot, or she got a little crazy that night. But nobody saw that dark side, the anxiety side, the stress side, the beating myself up side, the waking up at 3 a.m. with my heart beating out of my chest. So if you're like that, if you've got that going on, I want to share with you, I can help. So reach out to me. My business is called Sober Fit Chick, because I was always like a fit chick, but not a sober one. And it's funny how we make that a dirty word, sober, and it shouldn't be, because it's actually like a great thing. It's being clear-headed and present and energetic, focused. So, that is why I am celebrating 2 years alcohol-free, and I can't wait to see what happens next. And this trip has taught me a lot about how much I have changed. So it was a gift in many, many ways, an incredible experience. And like I said, I can't wait to see what year 3 brings. So if any of you have any questions, please DM me, reach out to me, Instagram, go to my website, soberfitchick.com, check out my whole story. And thank you so much for coming on here and celebrating with me. And I look forward to celebrating with you next anniversary. So thank you. Have a great day. You're going to laugh at me because I still don't know how to turn this thing off. There's still a lot to learn. Have a great day.